Your reputation precedes you, but ultimately, a reputation, what is it? A reputation is just a form of self-demonization, or, well, better said, own this demonization, right? Now, why did I, cross out the point self-demonization? Well, self-demonization is actually very good because it is part of one's liberation, right? Because the self is something that one builds. Again, it is mainly used as a survival mechanism because people love fulfilling roles in this society. People feel that if they don't have a role in this society, things are going to be bad for them because, well, guess what? They are actually bad, right? If you don't do something, your reputation will be ruined, right? And everyone is given a sense that they actually have a reputation in this world, right? You have a reputation as a student, you have a reputation of a human being, of a citizen, of the scientist that you may be, or a programmer, and you're always gonna be blackmailed, right, with losing this so-called reputation. But ultimately, we live in an ignorant world. What does ignorance mean? Well, ignorance means accepting everything without any boundary, right? You call an ignorant an idiot and they're gonna fuss about it, right? They're gonna accept the fact that they're an idiot, but they don't because well, that happens because they don't take their discernment into account, right? Because you may be, let's say, a mediocre programmer. If someone calls you a bad name, that's not gonna make you a worse programmer, right? Your skill, your talent is still there. That's why I made a video called Don't Trust Yourself, Trust Your Own Talents. Because your talents are always gonna be there. They may get a bit dull if you don't use them, but they're always gonna stay there, right? Irrespective of what reputation you might think you have or the other people might think you have, right? Because ultimately things that are on the outside are nothing else than collectively agreed upon, right? It's all these, you know, collective play, right? This collective performance, this collective agreement that you want something to happen in a certain way so that you feel safe, right? Always remember this word safe because it's a code name for control when it comes to society, right? So the point is that your reputation, right? Your reputation is a way through which you will be blackmailed into this world. Let's take into account your birth, right? When you came into this world, what were you, right? Before you got labeled in also many ways, you were technically nothing, right? You were a child, yes, but you were just a being in a physical human body, right? Experiencing life. You didn't have any memory, you didn't have any mind of your own, right? Your imagination or logics, right? Everything came in time as you accumulated more and more data, right? More and more knowledge. Now, the point is, data means a fixed aspect, right? Because a data, science is data, right? It never changes. Well, newer and better discoveries will probably change certain things, but that new changed thing is still a data because it doesn't change, right? Only the belief changes, right? Like, for example, water boils at 100 degrees. That's data because on this planet it's not going to change, right? Unless you put something in the water, right? But pure water boils at what, 100 degrees, right? Now it may be 99, 98, 102, right? The thermometer may not be 100% accurate, but 100 degrees is scientifically proven and shown, okay? So the point is that's data, right? So all these that you have accumulated, right? All these that you have gathered, right? They're just gatherings. So basically, you are nothing when you come into this world. Now you are trapped into this performance that you would be something. So what happens is that, well, you're gonna have to play along, right? Because you're gonna build a certain impression, right? And again, this goes into something that I've been presenting previously, right? The three chakras, the lower three chakras of the body represent the mind. And well, they also represent survival. They represent survival of the physical, right? The lowest chakra, Muladhara. Then comes Swadhisthana, which is survival of the group, right? Societal survival, as I call it. And then comes Manipura, right? Which is the survival of the self. This illusion that we create. Now, the self is a gathering in the end. It's not necessarily an illusion. It is real. It is always real, right? But it is created as a means of doing things, right? Because in order to do something, you need a certain self. When you speak to, let's say, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you have a certain self, you act in a certain way because you know they also have certain requirements or they like certain things and you want to please them in a certain way, right? And you want to be caring, loving, or you want to feel in a pleasant way to them, right? When you speak to your teacher, to your master, to your boss, right? To each of these persons, you will display a certain different self, right? So basically, this is nothing else than a mask. And persona comes from the Latin word, right? It is a Latin word, it comes from a Latin language, and it means a mask. It was the mask that actors would put on their face in order to, play somewhat more different roles, right? Or difficult roles, like, I don't know, natural phenomena or deities or elements of nature or different things that were let's say metaphysical, right? They weren't as easily uh, uh, they weren't as easy to replicate, right? So the point is, once people do a certain thing, right, they get admiration. Once they get admiration, because of thousands of years of imbalances, especially in the lower three chakras of the body, and namely in this case, the second one, societal survival, people will always be looking for attention, right? Because most of the people are ignorant, so they will always seek to fulfill the conditions, right? And, well, conditions are also the point of programming. Now, what programming means, it means creating limitation, right? Because basically you can use code to create literally everything, but what you're doing is you're technically creating a physical aspect, right? You're creating something that works. A software, a video game, or whatever you're creating, it's ultimately a limitation because it is fixed, right? It is like creating a cube or a pyramid or whatever. Just wait a bit. Nu mai era, când m-a întrebat chiar nu mai era. Când a venit probabil l-a cumpărat eu. Okay, I'm back. Mother requires my help from time to time. So the point about reputation is, as I was saying, it is nothing else than another mask that you are building, right? And you are using it to limit yourself. Basically, what you're saying is that the real self, the one you came as in this world, before you became inflicted with all these personas and the things that you have, right? You're saying that that self, your true self basically, which is also almighty because it is not limited by anything, is not good enough. So you have to represent yourself through something, right? You have to build a certain idea, you have to build a certain thing, right? Because ultimately, through ignorance, you will want people's attention because ignorance means separation. And, well, you can't live separated for too long because you need some sort of attention. And when you don't get it, you kind of have to snatch it, right? And, well, what other point than reputation? because ultimately reputation is a good sense, it's a good way of, you know, getting attention, right? Because reputation, when you have a lot of it, it is useful to gain attention, right? But ultimately, you're kind of demonizing your initial self, right? The self that came here and was boundless. Because the point is, when you have a reputation, it means you have identified yourself with something, right? And you identify yourself, right? That illusion, that mask you have been maintaining. Just as I've been saying in previous videos, indirectly, you only have to fight for lies, right? Because a lie requires a lot of energy to preserve. You always have to create newer and newer stories, and in order to keep lying to yourself, you also have to justify it. That is why liars are always, depleted of energy, and why many of those actually become parasitic, right? So the point about the truth is what it is. You don't have to fight for it, right? It's just like a ball that floats on water. But if you want to lie yourself that the ball doesn't float on the water, you have to keep it suppressed under the water, right? But you will only be able to do that for a certain amount of time, because you will get tired sooner or later. And, well, the ball will, one way or another, come back to the surface. And if you're not attentive, it might actually smack you in the face. So, that's how things go. That's why people say all lies have an expiry date. And that is why many people also lose their reputation, because reputation in most situations is built on a house of cards. It doesn't have a firm foundation anyways, because, well, it is only a mask that you use for a certain thing. Why do you think people say your reputation precedes you? Because your mask also precedes you, because it always comes in front of you. So hopefully this video was introspective enough. Sorry for the short break, but I have to help my mother from time to time. You are appreciated. Take care. Ferengian Bor signing out.